Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Maana Music Show with me, Toby Allen, the podcast where we talk to Maana musicians and music industry leaders to find out real-life strategies to solve real-time issues within today's music landscape. This week I wanted to explore a topic that not many artists might be aware of, but if you are able to master it, can be a real feather in the bow. This week I sat down and had an awesome chat with Punam Verma to talk about media training for artists. So without further ado, let's jump into the chat. Welcome to another edition of the Maana Music Show with me, Toby Allen. This week, I'm really humbled and really excited to have someone that might give a different take on media and what artists need in the modern day marketing. Punam, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Toby.
Thanks so much for coming on board. Really excited. I know you're going to give lots of nuggets of information. So first of all, let's just start off with introducing yourself. Where are you from and what do you do?
Well, I'm from the beautiful sunny city of Birmingham, as you know, Toby, coming from England, and we're known for our beautiful accent. I am a ex-BBC journalist, producer, and I used to have the first ever English TV show here on Dubai One TV. Now I'm a producer at Dubai On Demand, and I have my own online show called Soul Traveller.
Amazing. So where did it all start for you? So you're saying back from England. How did you get into media?
Oh, well, here's the thing. The story is funny. I was very young and I had a crush on this guy. And a friend of mine said to me, "That guy looks like Prince." I said, "Who's Prince?" And he gave me the film Purple Rain. And from that moment, Toby, my life completely changed. So I grew up in a great Indian community with a great family. Everyone was doctors, lawyers, dentists. But I was very creative. I'd write poetry, I'd make clothes, I used to sing, but I didn't have this path or this guidance to say, how do I get into the media? The moment I saw Prince, I don't know what he did to me, but I turned all my poetry into music and I was obsessed by this guy. I would study how he performed. I would see how he made his melodies. I would literally, he was like my silent mentor without even knowing it. You know, there was one point my dad came into the house and I was just sitting there watching Prince concert again and again and again. He got the VHS videotape, as you know, because we're that old, and just slammed it. He goes, "I've had a..." Then he just slammed the tape. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" Because I've had enough. All you do is watch this man. But it really was me studying him because I thought, this is what I want to do with my poetry. I want to make it into music. And then I started pursuing that creative side of writing, singing, songwriting, and wanting to go into the music industry.
I was going to not to be personal, but I wanted to actually understand what gets you.
What gets me?
Yeah, what gets you? What makes you tick?
Well, I've never planned my way through life. I've always felt my way through life. So I don't know if it's the creative thing. If something feels good, if someone feels good to me, if an idea I feel comes naturally, it's all about feeling for me. So when we met, Toby, we only met a week ago and literally we did click. And I just felt so comfortable that I was like, you have to have me on your podcast just because I enjoyed your conversation. And that's how I live my life.
What mistakes have you made?
Oh, the normal mistakes kids make that they shouldn't be telling their parents. What mistakes have I made? Maybe, one mistake, I think. I didn't listen to my parents as much as I should have. I think I was a little bit too rebellious, thinking I knew more. But they had a lot more experience in life. And I think there are times when I wish I'd listened a little bit more to them, for sure.
That was culture? That was a culture?
No, I think it was common sense. I've always been out of the box. I'm not your typical Indian girl. At my age, I should have been married with kids and settled down, and I haven't. And sometimes I regret that, I really do. But then I also think, if I wake up every day and I'm really happy and I'm doing what I love, what more could I want?
What's the one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
I think it's a quote that Dr. Wayne Dyer said, and I really like it. I embody it now in the past 2 years as I've got older more than I ever knew. And that is, what anyone thinks of me is none of my business. Because when you're in the public eye, be it as a presenter or an artist, you are so worried about what people are saying about you. You look at social media, you think, oh, do they like me? Do they not? I don't care anymore. I think the older you get, I'm just speaking for myself, the more I know myself, the less I care what anyone thinks.
Quite profound there. Yeah, that was quite... No, that's good. That's good. So what was your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
Oh, my biggest failure is when I was 18 years old and I did really, really badly in my A-levels. So A-levels is, for those who don't know, is what takes you on to university. And I was so upset. I just didn't do really well at all. And I just kept saying, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm not going to be anything, I'm not going to do anything. And I hibernated for 2 weeks in my house. My parents were lovely. They was like, you know, you can do this again, it's fine. And when I did it again, it just gave me a whole different confidence, because there's a great saying that, you know, like God's rejection, no, rejection is like God's redirection, or rejection is God's protection. And I felt like I was being redirected to do better and go somewhere else. And the college I went to for a year to restudy, it was amazing. I would go home and do A-level maths for fun, Toby. That's how much confidence I had, you know. And it just made me realize you're going to fail. You just, it's fine. Just do it again and again. It doesn't matter.
I think that great saying recently is failing forward. So at least it's better to be doing and failing and then being able to learn from that than not doing at all. And I think with musicians, it's a lot of it is procrastination because of the fear what other people think. And it's very hard about within musicians or whatever creatives that you're in to actually take that leap.
You know what's funny? Right? Yeah, but you know what's funny? When I was making music and I would send demo tapes, I sent them to every single record company, every production company. I still to this day, 20, 30 years later, have all the letters from all the record labels saying thank you, but this is not what we're looking for. Because I just kept it to say, you know, they rejected me, but my path went elsewhere. We all have rejection. And I think it pushes us more. It shouldn't bring you down, you know?
Are there any coping mechanisms on that rejection that you implement today?
I think it's that thing that I say, if something doesn't work out, I'm being redirected to something else. So I really was craving to do music. I performed in front of 70,000 people. I met with Sony, Columbia, you name it. I was going down that path and it just wasn't working out because I didn't have a category to fit me in those days. And accidentally, I became a presenter. And when I look back on it, I'm a much better presenter than I would have been a singer. And the life that I've had through presenting has been incredible. And I think I was very vulnerable and naive when I was going to the music industry. And it isn't that easy or safe as a woman as well.
I just wanted you just mentioned about you couldn't be categorized. Could you just elaborate on that, please?
Yeah. So when I was doing music, my music was a mixture of funk and soul, because I grew up with obviously Prince and James Brown and Sade. But I grew up listening to Bollywood music, so I'd use tablas and Indian melodies in my music. So when I go and, let's say I remember sitting with Arista, and he said, well, can you make stuff like the Spice Girls? I'm like, no, it's too poppy. Okay, then maybe you could make pure Bhangra, Punjabi stuff. And I'm like, but I'm not pure Bhangra, Punjabi stuff. So no one knew what to do with me. And that was my situation 25 years ago. Now I would have released all my music online and just taking care of my own music. I wouldn't have cared about having a manager. But that was the constant battle I had in those days.
What are the best resources that have helped you along the way?
Well, obviously my smile, Toby, that gets me far. I mean, that's why you got me on your podcast. I just smiled and it's like in a week I got on your podcast, it worked. I think the thing that my parents taught me, which was first of all, treat everybody the same. So I don't care if you're the Queen of England or if you're a road sweeper or a taxi driver. I've always looked at people as human beings first and foremost. It doesn't matter about your education or your money, that comes and goes. Respect, treat everyone with respect, but also treat myself with respect as well. That's most important. And just kindness is the most important thing. I think that's got me far because I'm very good at making people feel comfortable. But I think the biggest thing like that I really take pleasure in is making people smile and laugh. When they do that, it makes me happy.
That's awesome. You are a presenter and you interview. That's what you pretty much do over here in Dubai? Or is there anything else?
Yeah. No. I actually produce. I'm a videographer and an editor and a writer. So I do everything.
So you've got experience as a one-stop shop, video creation, interviewing, the whole works. Yep.
Yeah, I'm a one-stop shop behind the camera and in front of the camera.
Fantastic. So you've interviewed a few people.
A few.
Would you like to let us know anyone that we might know?
Well, I have a whole list. You tell me when to stop, right? Here I go. Kim Kardashian, Kris Jenner, Tom Cruise, Lewis Hamilton, Gary Vee, Sting, Gordon Ramsay, Shah Rukh Khan, Kareena Kapoor, Salma Hayek, Oliver Stone, Russell Peters, Craig David, Chef Nobu, Maxwell. Just stop there.
There's quite a few, isn't there? How was that for you? It sounds quite daunting to the average person.
It's funny. The first person I actually met was George Clooney. That was the weirdest thing. But I didn't interview him, but we did meet. And then Shaggy was my first interviewee, and that was quite fine. I think the biggest ones were like Kim Kardashian, Lewis Hamilton, those kind of things, and Tom Cruise. By then, I was versed in presenting, and I didn't get nervous at all. I think for me, it was more an excitement to meet people that you'd looked at. I didn't always admire all of them or think what they were doing was great, to be honest with you. But it was just a great fun time. But I think it really challenged me as a presenter because they all have their own personalities and their own mood swings.
Yeah, that leads me on nicely. I was going to say, how do you describe your process to actually preparing to interview someone? It could be of any nature, but obviously I think anyone gets the jitters when when it comes to someone famous. Did you have a process preparing?
Yeah. So the first thing is I don't over-research, because if I research too much, they won't surprise me in the interview and there won't be a natural, response. And that could take me somewhere else as into the question. So for example, I don't rigidly stick to questions, because I might say something to you and you've got a set of questions and go, oh, let's talk about that. And it will go somewhere else. Another thing is I like to find something personal about that person to break in the interview. So when I interviewed Lewis Hamilton, my brother said to me, he loves sweets, the 10p sweets back in the day. So literally, I was rushing around the mall before I interviewed him, and I went and got a bag of sweets. And as the interview started, that's the first thing I gave him. And the interview is probably one of the best interviews I had. We just chilled out, we just laughed, and it was so nice. So I try and find those little personal tidbits, and always incorporate fun as much as I can. Because as a news journalist, I used to cover a lot of murders and things, but now it's a lot of lifestyle and informative entertainment stuff. So I can incorporate a lot of fun. But also, one thing I never do is I never ask personal questions. I don't care about people's personal life. If you're here to talk about your work and your creativity, I'm happy to do that. For me, my personal life, my family or my friends, whatever, is sacred to me. So I don't want to share that. So I wouldn't ask it of somebody unless they wanted to talk about it.
Okay, now if we flip it onto the other side, as we're primarily artists and musicians and entertainment leaders, how important is it for those people to know how to respond or behave in an interview?
Well, I think, especially if you're a new artist, an interview can make or break your brand. It really can. I think, when you're new and you think you're the new one on the block, your ego can go really high. And I think you need to check your ego, because the music industry is short and fast. Very rarely do people have careers for 30, 40 years anymore. I think don't be too cocky, be humble, be down to earth, be appreciative, but still be confident in what you're talking about. I think you need to check yourself at the beginning. When you get to Mariah Carey stage, fair enough, you can be a diva, it's fine.
I was wondering, so are there any problems that you've encountered interviewing people? Like, say, how do you deal with someone who's really nervous? Like for me, I don't actually like speaking. I find it difficult to speak in front of camera. But is there any problems that you've encountered?
Yeah, I mean, you think that most people in the public eye are very confident in interviews. So if you know the Canadian comedian Russell Peters, he's been here a few times. Mm-hmm. He's amazing on stage. So, we had an interview with him after he finished his performance at the Medina at Jumeirah. So I went backstage. I was the only person interviewing him, and I sat down and I said, so, how do you think you did today? It was amazing. He's like, yeah, it was okay. And then I asked him another question. He went, no. It was like getting blood out of a stone. And I was like, what is going on here? And I was trying to be all fun and happy, but he just wasn't having any of it. As soon as the camera stopped, he completely changed. He was hugging me. We were chatting. I said, what is going on here? What's happening? He said, well, first of all, I wasn't happy with my performance. So that was going on in his head. And secondly, he goes, I don't like doing interviews. So you're in a situation where these people, they're in the public eye, but they're told they have to do interviews. And it's hard for them. A lot of them don't want to do that. So you just have to go with the flow.
Would you say, what are the main things when being interviewed that an artist should consider, different than actually how they behave? Is there anything else that they can consider?
Well, I don't know what it's like if, you're surrounded by PR people and managers telling you, don't say this, don't do that, you should be like this, you should be like that. I think that's a very hard thing to live by. I think it's so easy being yourself. So I think be as authentic as you can, be real. But I still think because social media, everyone is filming everything they do. I still go back to the old days where have an air of mystery about yourself. Leave journalists wanting more. Don't give everything away too soon. When you look at someone like Prince, every time he had an interview, you could count it probably on two hands because it was so rare. Everyone was mesmerized because he was speaking, but don't give everything away. I don't want to know everything about you. I want to learn more and more each time.
How do you give that intrigue?
How do you give that intrigue?
Yeah.
Well, I think you've got to be really clever with your answers. So if somebody asks you something, you come out with those questions like, I'll let you know once I know, or we'll see. You know what I mean? Find those clever questions. And another thing is the same way I do research on the artist a little bit. As an artist, if you have time, do research on the journalist. Do see some of their past work, because some of them can be very ruthless. Some of them can be very kind and sweet. So you're kind of prepared for what's coming at you, because there are a lot of stars, if you've seen them, on TMZ and that, they'll just walk out. I saw Paris Hilton walk out because she couldn't handle a simple question. She just felt like, oh, this person's attacking me. And it was just a personal question. But she really couldn't handle it. And it was quite sad, actually, for someone who's been in the media for that long.
Should an artist get training to be interviewed?
Should an artist I think a little bit, not too much. Like, I don't believe in drama school because I think you become a really stiff actor sometimes. It's different if you're going into. So with an artist, I don't think they need overtraining, but I do think they should have a bit of experience where someone interviews them and let's see how they come across. Because especially if you're new, it's not easy having a microphone and a camera in your face for anybody. And you might be great on stage and performing, but interviewing is a whole different topic, So don't overdo it, but it's good to have a little bit and see what it's like.
It's funny you say that, actually, because we can play to, and you've experienced, you can play to thousands of people DJing or to a band, and it feels like you've got the stage, you've got the speakers as your barrier. DJs will talk about the DJ box being their barrier. They're entertaining loads of people, but as soon as it's up close and personal, they freeze.
Because also you've got to think
about
about
it. It's more nerve-wracking talking one-on-one to someone with a camera in your face than playing to lots of people.
Well, when you're on stage, there's a persona that overtakes you. Like when I was on stage singing or when I'm presenting on the camera, this overwhelming confidence and energy comes over me. It doesn't mean I'm not having a bad day. And when I get off stage, someone asks me a question, I'm like, I really don't want to speak to this person. So there is a different energy when you're on stage or you're a DJ or a performer. Like Beyonce she calls it Sasha Fierce, I think, her alter ego. So it is two different things, being interviewed as yourself and then the personality on stage.
Alter ego on stage. So Beyonce has an alter ego.
Yeah, it's called Sasha. I'm sure it's Sasha Fierce. Correct me if I'm wrong, Beyonce fans, but yeah.
That's fascinating. Do you know anyone else that's got an alter ego?
I think a lot of people do. I don't know what their names are, but I do remember when I got on stage, this thing just went over me and I started performing like, who is that person? And sometimes I look at my old TV shows thinking, how did I present that? Like, something comes over you. You just go into performance mode, and it's for those people. It's very natural. When it's natural, it just takes over you. This energy comes because I truly feel you're doing what you love doing, so you want to give it your all.
We were talking about Ibiza and that you did a TV program over there. Would you like to just elaborate on that?
Yeah, so for Soul Traveller is it's a wellness, holistic, spiritual show because I'm also a metaphysics practitioner, which is to do with the universe and spirituality. And I wanted to incorporate journalism and metaphysics to talk to people about spirituality and alternative healing. Because I think everyone's stuck in this materialistic world and physical world a bit too much. And Ibiza is known for, party place. Coming from England, that's all I knew. But I was sitting at home in England and I just kept hearing Ibiza in my head. And to me, I always have the odd voices telling me or giving me some guidance. So I called the Ibiza Tourist Board. I told them I wanted to do a show about the alternative side, the healing, the energy side of Ibiza. Had no idea how spiritual it was. And they said, yeah, come over. And I was there for 10 days and we featured the most amazing stories and I met the most amazing people. But that island truly has an energy that I have never experienced. Hawaii maybe, but it's magical.
It really is. If anyone hasn't been, even after all these years, there's something going on there, and it's not just about getting off your face, to be honest with you. What's coming up for you what's next for you in the next few years?
Well,
what's in the pipeline?
I've been writing a book for about 4 years, and I've been procrastinating on that. And it's a spiritual book, like a metaphysical book. And then what else? I want to take Soul Traveller to another level, to be honest with you. It'd be nice to get it, get some funding or invest it or get it on a channel eventually. I'm not too bothered about TV channel because YouTube has such a powerful force anyway. But and also I've talked to you about this, Toby. So my old tracks, there's a track called Zing, which is on my website. Yeah. I said that, listen, I don't care anymore about being famous. I've had my 15 minutes or 8 years, should I say. And I just want to make a music video. I've always wanted to do it. So I think I'm going to get my production crew and go in the desert and just have some fun. I might just do that.
Make more music.
I'd love to make more music, but it's about meeting the right producers here. And that I have always found a problem. In England, I could click my fingers and I'd be in studios every weekend. Here, it's a nightmare. Okay.
Why do you need a music producer?
Because it was easy for me to create melodies myself, but to, finalize it, produce it. And also, I realized having input from other people and other producers or live musicians, it just adds to that, Otherwise, you're stuck in your own head.
Could you not do it all? Could you do it all by yourself?
I could do, but I love collaborating now. Yeah. I used to be very protective over my work and I'd want every melody. I never wanted a producer to change anything I did. And once I relaxed a little bit, they took it to a whole different level because I'm not a pure musician. I just, ad-lib everything.
How would you deal with the cost of collaborating?
My production crew would do it for free. They work with me. They're my brothers and sisters. They will not charge me at all. So I'm in that fortunate position.
So royalties to yourself.
Oh, you mean like that? As in there's no PRS here, is there, Toby, right now? So isn't it all going to be?
Watch this space.
I know, it's about time.
Thank you so much for having a chat. Whereabouts can people get you online if they wanted to reach out?
Well, my show's name is Soul Traveller Magazine, which is a website and YouTube and Instagram. And then my main website where everything is punamverma.com, which is PUNAMVERMA.
And if they wanted, and your email address, or what's best to contact you if they wanted to talk to you about any media training?
Oh, they can contact me at punam@dubaiondemand.com.
Amazing. Punam, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Some great bits of information, and I wish you all the best. That's all for today's episode of the Maana Music Show. Thank you for listening, and I hope you got a lot of valuable information from it. If you liked this episode, then please make sure you subscribe to the show on iTunes, and if you could leave a review, it really helps with the growth of the podcast. Lastly, if you're a musician or music producer and want to join the region's thriving online music community and learning hub, then head on over to our Lab Musica Facebook page. Until next time, take care, keep safe.